In the early years of the 19th century, England was a land poised on the edge of transformation. The Industrial Revolution was gathering pace, weaving its threads of smoke and steel through the countryside, while the arts and sciences flourished in tandem, feeding an atmosphere thick with curiosity and wonder. It was within this vibrant yet unsettled world that the story of Thomas Merrick unfolded, a young boy whose peculiar talent would challenge the boundaries of perception and reality. Thomas Merrick was born in a small, nondescript village nestled just beyond the sprawling outskirts of London. Unlike the bustling city, this village clung to the rhythms of simpler times, where the days were measured by the rising and setting of the sun, and the seasons dictated the work of the land. Yet even here, the winds of change stirred, and within the walls of the Merrick household, an extraordinary secret quietly took root. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss a new video. And tell me, where are you watching this video from? I love seeing all different people come together for these stories. From the moment Thomas could hold a pencil, he displayed an uncanny ability to draw with remarkable precision. But these were no ordinary sketches. The faces he rendered, expressions etched with a haunting clarity, were invisible to every other eye. Neighbors who glimpsed his work at first regarded it as the fanciful imaginings of a child, unaware that Thomas was capturing images that defied explanation. The village, steeped in tradition and superstition, found itself enchanted and unsettled by Thomas's drawings. His talent was unlike that of any child they had known. It was a gift that seemed to bridge the seen and the unseen, the tangible and the spectral. The faces appeared not only on paper, but seemed to linger in the air around him, as if glimpses of a hidden world brushing against the edges of his consciousness. This peculiar ability set the tone for Thomas's early years, a time marked by innocence, tinged with a profound mystery. The boy wandered the village lanes, his sketchbook ever at hand, capturing the faces no one else could see, faces that whispered stories of lives unknown, memories lost to time, or perhaps echoes of a reality just beyond human grasp. To Thomas, these images were as real as the cobblestones beneath his feet, yet to others they were inexplicable phantoms. The atmosphere of early 19th century England, with its blend of scientific inquiry and lingering superstition, provided a fitting backdrop for Thomas's story. On one hand, the era celebrated discovery, the unlocking of nature's secrets through observation and reason. On the other, it harbored a deep reverence and fear for the supernatural and the unexplained. Thomas Merrick's gift straddled these realms, inviting both fascination and apprehension. Within the Merrick household, Thomas's unusual talent was met with a mixture of wonder and concern. His mother, gentle and nurturing, saw in his drawings a spark of divine inspiration, a window into a world beyond ordinary sight. She encouraged his artistry, believing it to be a blessing that might one day reveal truths hidden from others. His father, a stern craftsman grounded in the tangible realities of wood and metal, viewed the boy's gift with cautious skepticism, wary of the shadows it cast upon their modest life. As Thomas grew, so too did the complexity of his drawings. The faces became more detailed, their expressions varied, some serene, others troubled or sorrowful, inviting questions that Thomas himself struggled to answer. What did these faces mean? Whose lives had they lived? Were they memories, spirits, or figments of a vivid imagination? The village schoolmaster, a man of learning yet bound by the limitations of his time, observed Thomas with a mixture of intrigue and unease. He noted the boy's ability to reproduce the minutest details of these unseen visages, yet he could find no rational explanation. Was Thomas gifted, or was he touched by something darker? The question lingered unspoken in the minds of many, as whispers began to circulate through the narrow streets. Despite the murmurs, Thomas remained a figure of quiet determination. His drawings were not mere play. They were a language through which he sought to communicate the invisible. Yet with every page filled, the gulf between him and his peers widened. The other children, unable to perceive the faces that captivated Thomas, began to regard him with suspicion, their childhood camaraderie giving way to distance and fear. In this crucible of childhood isolation and extraordinary talent, the stage was set for a tale that would intertwine the innocence of youth with the profound mysteries of perception. Thomas Merrick's journey was not simply one of artistic endeavor, but a deeper exploration into the boundaries of human experience, a quest that would challenge the very nature of reality in a world caught between enlightenment and shadow. Thus, in the quiet village of early 19th century England, where the old ways still held sway and the new dawn of science was breaking, Thomas Merrick began to forge a path unlike any other. His pencil traced not only faces, but the faint outlines of a hidden dimension, beckoning those willing to look beyond the surface to consider what lies unseen. It was a beginning marked by wonder, uncertainty, and the tantalizing promise of discovery. The Merrick family's life was rooted in the modest rhythms of rural existence. Their home, a humble cottage, perched at the edge of a quiet village not far from London. The village itself was an assembly of weathered stone and timber, where the days unfolded beneath broad skies, and the cadence of village bells marked the passage of time. Within this setting, the Merricks lived simply, but with a certain dignity, their lives entwined with the land and the crafts that sustained them. Thomas's father, Samuel Merrick, was a man of sturdy build and steady hands, known throughout the village as a skilled craftsman. He fashioned furniture with meticulous care, his workshop filled with shavings of oak and ash, the scent of fresh-cut wood mingling with the earthy aroma of the countryside. Samuel's demeanor was one of quiet resolve, shaped by the demands of his trade and the responsibilities of providing for his family. Though he possessed a stern exterior, there was a depth of affection beneath his reserved nature, especially toward his son. Samuel's world was one of tangible realities, tools, timber, and the tangible fruits of labor. He prized practicality and discipline, values that had guided him through a life of honest work. When Thomas's unusual talent began to emerge, Samuel found himself at a crossroads, torn between pride in his son's gift and unease at its enigmatic nature. To Samuel, the invisible faces Thomas drew were mysteries he could neither grasp nor control, and this bred a cautious distance between father and son. In contrast, Thomas's mother, Margaret Merrick, embraced her son's abilities with a gentle openness that illuminated the household. Margaret was a woman of warmth and quiet strength, her days spent tending to the home and nurturing her family amidst the challenges of rural life. She recognized in Thomas's drawings something extraordinary, a glimpse into realms beyond ordinary sight, and she sought to protect and encourage this fragile talent. Margaret's belief in the spiritual and the unseen was rooted in a blend of faith and intuition common in their community. She often whispered prayers over Thomas's sketches, hoping to shield him from the fear and misunderstanding that his gift might provoke. Her love was a sanctuary in which Thomas found solace, a haven where his strange visions were met not with doubt, but with compassion. The Merrick household, though modest, was a place where art and craft coexisted. Samuel's woodworking and Thomas's drawing formed an unspoken dialogue between father and son, a silent exchange of creation rooted in different realms, one of the physical, the other of the ethereal. Yet this dialogue was fragile, strained by the gulf between understanding and acceptance. From the earliest days, Thomas showed signs of the unusual sight that would define him. Even before he could speak in full sentences, he would sit for hours, sketching faces that no one else saw. These were not the faces of villagers or family members, but apparitions that hovered at the edges of perception, ghostly visages that seemed to emerge from shadows and light. The family's mixed reactions reflected the complexity of the gift itself. Margaret's nurturing instincts led her to encourage Thomas's artistry, providing him with paper and charcoal, and safeguarding his creations from the skepticism of neighbors. Samuel, meanwhile, wrestled with a growing apprehension, fearful that his son's talent might mark him as different in a world that prized conformity and tangible results. The village itself was a small world where news traveled swiftly, and deviations from the norm were met with a mix of curiosity and caution. As Thomas's drawings became known, whispers began to circulate among the villagers. Some viewed the boy as a prodigy, touched by divine favor. Others regarded him with suspicion, wary of the unknown and the possibility of supernatural influence. Within the Merrick family, these external pressures bore down heavily. Margaret stood as a bulwark against the rising tide of fear, shielding Thomas from the murmurs and wary glances. She believed fiercely in the goodness of her son's gift, seeing it as a beacon of light rather than a shadow to be feared. Samuel, though less vocal, shared his wife's protective instincts, even as he struggled to reconcile his pragmatic worldview with the inexplicable nature of Thomas's talent. The dynamic between father and son grew more complex as Thomas's drawings evolved. Samuel's craftsman's eye noticed the precision and detail in the boy's work, yet he remained distant, unable to bridge the chasm of understanding. Their relationship, marked by unspoken tension, reflected the broader struggle of a family caught between tradition and the extraordinary. Margaret's role extended beyond that of a nurturing mother. She became an advocate and guardian of Thomas's gift. She sought to foster an environment where his talents could flourish, even as the village's gaze grew more intrusive. Her quiet resilience sustained the boy through moments of doubt and isolation, affirming the value of his unique vision in a world reluctant to accept it. Together, the Merrick family navigated the uncertain terrain of Thomas's emerging ability, their lives a delicate balance of hope, fear, and devotion. The household was both a refuge and a crucible, where the ordinary and the extraordinary collided in the daily rituals of rural life. This complex familial backdrop set the stage for Thomas's continuing journey, revealing the human dimensions behind his enigmatic gift. It was a story not only of a boy with an uncanny talent, but of a family striving to understand and protect one another amidst forces both seen and unseen. In this small village on the cusp of change, the Merricks embodied the tensions of their time, the interplay between the known and the mysterious, the tangible and the intangible, the steadfast and the uncertain. Their story was a testament to the enduring bonds of family in the face of the inexplicable, and the quiet courage required to embrace a gift that defied easy explanation. As Thomas Merrick grew from a boy into his early adolescence, the peculiar nature of his drawings became ever more pronounced, drawing the attention not only of his family, but of the entire village. What had once been regarded as a charming, if curious, hobby evolved into something far more unsettling and profound. Thomas began to sketch faces that no one else could see, faces so vivid and detailed that they seemed to breathe life upon the page, as though he were channeling the essence of unseen beings. These faces were not the familiar visages of neighbors or family members. Rather, They appeared ghostly and ethereal, emerging from the depths of Thomas's imagination, or so it seemed to those who observed him. His drawings displayed an uncanny mastery of expression, capturing emotions ranging from sorrow and longing to quiet joy and serene contemplation. It was as if Thomas possessed a window into a hidden realm, one invisible to others but accessible to his discerning eye. The villagers, a community bound by tradition and wary of the unknown, found themselves both fascinated and unsettled by the boy's work. At first, many dismissed his drawings as the fanciful products of a vivid imagination, the innocent creations of a child with a talent for art. But as the sketches multiplied, so too did the whispered rumors and uneasy glances. Some villagers spoke in hushed tones of spirits and omens, while others speculated that Thomas might be touched by a gift or a curse that set him apart from the rest. Among those who took a keen interest was the village schoolmaster, a man named Mr. Edmund Hale. Educated and versed in the classical knowledge of the time, Hale was intrigued by Thomas's ability, but approached it with a measured skepticism. He observed the boy closely during lessons, noting the intensity with which Thomas would sometimes stare into the air, as if seeing something beyond the physical world. Hale found himself torn between admiration for Thomas's artistic skill and apprehension about the nature of the images he produced. He questioned whether the boy's talent was a sign of extraordinary perception or a symptom of something more troubling. The schoolmaster's curiosity led him to examine the drawings with care, yet he could find no explanation within the accepted frameworks of art or science. For Thomas, the act of drawing was a compulsion more than a choice. The faces came to him unbidden, as if summoned by forces beyond his understanding. He would sit for hours, pencil moving swiftly across the paper, capturing every subtle line and shadow, every glimmer of feeling etched into the features. Sometimes the faces seemed to watch him in return, their eyes following his movements with an eerie awareness. This mysterious gift, while a source of wonder, also isolated Thomas from his peers. The other children, unable to comprehend the unseen images that so captivated him, grew distant and wary. Playmates became strangers, and the laughter that once echoed through the village lanes grew faint around him. Thomas found himself increasingly alone, his world shaped more by the invisible faces than by the tangible lives of those around him. The villagers' suspicion deepened as tales circulated of the boy's strange behavior. Some believed he was possessed by spirits. Others whispered that he had dealings with the supernatural. These rumors cast a shadow over the Merrick family, who faced growing scrutiny and, at times, outright hostility. Yet, within the household, Margaret remained steadfast in her support, shielding Thomas as best she could from the village's judgment. Samuel's unease, meanwhile, grew heavier. Though he did not voice his fears openly, the craftsman worried for his son's future in a world that demanded conformity and scorned difference. He watched as Thomas's drawings became more intricate, the faces more lifelike, and the boy's isolation more profound. The gulf between father and son widened, bridged only by a shared concern for the boy's well-being. Despite these challenges, Thomas remained drawn to his gift, compelled to explore the faces that appeared before him. His drawings began to extend beyond mere portraits, hinting at narratives and histories embedded within the features he captured. He sketched scenes where these faces seemed to inhabit places lost to time, forgotten corners of the village, ancient forests, and shadowed interiors. Each drawing was a fragment of a larger, unknowable story, a puzzle that Thomas sought to assemble. The schoolmaster, recognizing the potential significance of Thomas's talent, attempted to engage with the boy, encouraging him to speak of the faces and their meanings. Yet Thomas struggled to articulate what he saw. Words failed to capture the depth and complexity of his vision. The faces were not merely images, they were echoes of lives and emotions, impressions that transcended ordinary experience. This inability to communicate fostered a profound loneliness within Thomas. His gift was both a blessing and a burden, granting him access to realms unseen, yet isolating him from the world of those around him. The more he drew, the more distant he became from the village's laughter and light. The villagers' reactions embodied the tension between fear and fascination that often accompanies the unknown. Some sought to protect Thomas, believing his gift to be a sign of divine favor or prophecy. Others recoiled, fearful of what lay beyond their understanding. This ambivalence created a fragile social atmosphere, where Thomas's presence was both revered and reviled. Within his family, the strain was palpable. Margaret's unwavering support contrasted with Samuel's cautious distance, a microcosm of the broader societal ambivalence. The household became a quiet battleground of emotions: hope, fear, love, and uncertainty, each member navigating the implications of Thomas's gift in their own way. As the seasons turned, Thomas's drawings continued to accumulate, each page a testament to a world seen only through his eyes. The faces he rendered became part of the village's fabric, whispered about in markets and hearths, yet never fully understood. They were silent witnesses to a mystery that defied explanation, a riddle that would come to define not only Thomas's life, but the lives of those around him. In this crucible of isolation and fascination, Thomas Merrick's gift took root and flourished, setting the stage for the profound and unsettling journey that lay ahead. His drawings were more than mere sketches. They were windows into the unknown, beckoning those who dared to glimpse the unseen dimensions of existence. In the crisp autumn of 1809, a shadow fell over the village that would intertwine irrevocably with the young artist's burgeoning gift. The disappearance of a local child, a girl named Eliza Cartwright, stirred the close-knit community into a state of apprehension and sorrow. Eliza, no more than 10 years old, had vanished without a trace while gathering wildflowers near the edge of the woods. The search parties combed the forest and fields, their calls echoing through the trees, yet no sign of her was found. Amidst the growing despair, Thomas Merrick found himself compelled to draw, a face that had not come to him before, but one that now emerged with startling clarity. The visage was delicate and fragile, framed by tangled curls and wide eyes filled with fear and longing. Thomas worked feverishly, guided by an impulse he could neither explain nor resist. When he presented the sketch to his mother, Margaret, her breath caught in a mixture of awe and dread. The face bore a haunting resemblance to the missing Eliza. Word of Thomas's drawing spread quickly through the village, carried on the whispers of neighbors gathered by hearth and lantern light. The villagers, already gripped by anxiety, began to see in Thomas not merely a gifted boy, but a seer, someone who might bridge the chasm between the known world and the perilous unknown. The drawing took on a significance far beyond its paper bounds. It was a symbol of hope, a beacon in the darkness of uncertainty. The schoolmaster, Mr. Edmund Hale, approached the Merrick household with a mixture of skepticism and cautious optimism. He had long observed Thomas's peculiar talent, but had yet to fully grasp its implications. Now, faced with the drawing linked to Eliza's disappearance, Hale's curiosity deepened. He requested to examine the sketch closely, hoping to discern clues that might aid the search. As Hale studied the drawing, he noted the exquisite detail, the subtle furrow of the brow, the tremor of the lips, the haunted expression that seemed to capture the very essence of fear. It was unlike any portrait he had encountered, as if the image bore not only resemblance, but the emotional imprint of the subject. The schoolmaster's demeanor shifted from doubt to a tentative belief that Thomas's gift might possess a supernatural insight. The villagers' reactions were more volatile. Some embraced the notion that Thomas could see beyond ordinary reality, believing that his drawings were messages from the spirit world or glimpses into hidden truths. Others recoiled, fearful that such abilities heralded dark omens, or that the boy was touched by malevolent forces. The atmosphere grew charged with a mixture of reverence and suspicion, casting a shadow over the Merrick family's already fragile standing. Margaret, ever protective, sought to shield Thomas from the swirling fears, urging the community to show compassion rather than suspicion. She believed that her son's gift was a blessing, meant to aid the village in its time of need. Yet even her steadfast love could not fully stem the tide of unease that gathered around them. Thomas himself was bewildered by the intensity his drawing had sparked. The face of Eliza, so vivid and filled with silent sorrow, haunted his thoughts. He struggled to understand the source of his vision. Was it memory, prophecy, or something else beyond comprehension? The boy's dreams became restless, filled with fleeting images of shadowed woods and distant cries, as if his subconscious sought to unravel the mystery that his waking mind could not. As the days passed, a subtle shift occurred within the village. The initial fear gave way to a tentative awe, and some began to regard Thomas as a guardian figure, a vessel through which unseen knowledge was conveyed. Villagers would bring him scraps of cloth, objects, and whispered stories, hoping he might capture the faces of missing loved ones or reveal hidden dangers. Thomas's drawings became a focal point for communal hope and anxiety alike. Yet this newfound reverence was fragile. Beneath the surface lay a current of tension and uncertainty, as villagers grappled with the implications of a child who could perceive what others could not. The boundaries between faith and fear blurred, and the village found itself suspended between worlds, caught between the rationale and the mystical. The connection between Thomas's drawing and Eliza's disappearance remained a puzzle. Despite renewed searches inspired by the boy's sketches, no trace of the girl was found. The villagers' hope waned, replaced by a lingering unease that the unseen forces Thomas glimpsed were beyond their control or understanding. Within the Merrick household, the episode deepened the complexities of Thomas's gift. Margaret's nurturing resolve was tested as she watched her son bear the weight of expectations he could scarcely comprehend. Samuel's quiet worry grew, shadowed by the village's shifting sentiments and the mysterious power his son seemed to wield. The schoolmaster, too, found himself transformed by the experience. He began to document his observations of Thomas's abilities with greater rigor, seeking patterns and explanations within the limits of contemporary knowledge. Yet even his learned mind was challenged by the phenomena unfolding before him, forcing a reconsideration of the boundaries between science and the supernatural. This pivotal moment in Thomas Merrick's life marked a turning point, not only in his relationship with the village, but in the unfolding narrative of his gift. The drawing of Eliza's face became emblematic of the fragile interface between the visible world and the hidden dimensions Thomas accessed. It was a haunting reminder that beneath the surface of everyday life lay mysteries that defied easy explanation. As the village grappled with the unresolved disappearance and the enigmatic evidence Thomas provided, the boy himself stood at the threshold of deeper revelations. His art had transcended mere depiction. It was now a language speaking from the shadows, inviting those who dared to listen into a realm where fear and hope intertwined. In this moment of communal crisis and quiet wonder, Thomas Merrick's drawings drew the village into a liminal space, where the boundary between reality and the unseen blurred, and where a child's gift illuminated the profound uncertainties of the human experience. The uneasy reverberations from Eliza Cartwright's disappearance and Thomas Merrick's unsettling drawings began to weave themselves into the fabric of village life, stretching the bonds of community and family alike. The Merrick household, once a quiet refuge from the world's harshness, found itself enmeshed in a web of suspicion and whispered fears that threatened to unravel the delicate balance they had maintained. Margaret Merrick, steadfast and resolute, bore the brunt of the village's shifting moods. As neighbors cast wary glances and muttered behind closed doors, she became an unyielding protector of her son's fragile spirit. Her days were marked by quiet acts of defiance, shielding Thomas's sketches from prying eyes, soothing his anxieties, and offering words of reassurance when the weight of isolation pressed hardest. To her, Thomas's gift was not a curse to be feared, but a precious beacon of insight, deserving of care and respect. Yet the village's growing suspicion was a tide that could not be held back by maternal love alone. Rumors began to take root, fueled by fear and misunderstanding. Tales circulated of strange happenings in the Merrick home, whispers of unnatural visions, of dealings with spirits, and even dark pacts. The once friendly neighbors now kept their distance, their greetings curt, and their eyes filled with a mixture of pity and apprehension. Samuel Merrick, the family patriarch, found himself besieged by conflicting emotions. His practical nature wrestled with the inexplicable reality of his son's abilities. Though he desired to protect his family, he was haunted by the specter of social ostracism and the potential consequences for Thomas's future. The craftsman's workshop, once a place of pride and creation, became a somber retreat where Samuel grappled silently with fears he dared not voice aloud. Within this crucible of suspicion, Thomas's connection to his drawings deepened. The faces he rendered seemed to call to him with increasing urgency, their expressions more vivid, their stories more complex. Yet the boy struggled to bridge the gulf between his inner visions and the external world. Attempts to explain or share the meaning behind his sketches were met with confusion or disbelief, further isolating him from those around him. The strain on the Merrick family was palpable. Margaret's protective instincts clashed with Samuel's cautious reserve, creating an unspoken tension within the household. Arguments, though rare, simmered beneath the surface, each parent wrestling with how best to navigate the growing chasm between their son's enigmatic gift and the village's mounting unease. As the social fabric frayed, Thomas's own sense of self became increasingly entangled with his art. His drawings were no longer mere images, but conduits for emotions and truths he could not otherwise express. The faces he brought to life bore the weight of sorrow, hope, and desperation, reflecting not only the unseen world, but the turmoil within his own heart. Margaret's unwavering support provided a fragile anchor amid this tempest. She sought allies within the village, those who might understand or at least tolerate Thomas's peculiar abilities. A few kind souls, drawn to the boy's gentle nature and artistic talent, offered quiet encouragement, though they too were wary of the whispers that shadowed the Merrick name. Samuel, meanwhile, wrestled with the practicalities of their situation. He feared for Thomas's prospects in a society quick to shun what it could not comprehend. The craftsman contemplated moving the family away, seeking a fresh start where his son's gift might be met with less suspicion. Yet the ties to their home and the weight of their circumstances made such a move fraught with uncertainty. Within the village, the dual forces of fear and fascination continued to shape attitudes toward Thomas. Some viewed him as a prophet or seer, a child touched by divine insight. Others saw a harbinger of misfortune, a beacon of the uncanny that unsettled the natural order. This ambivalence fostered a climate where Thomas's presence was both revered and reviled, a living paradox at the heart of communal life. The schoolmaster, Edmund Hale, remained a cautious observer, attempting to mediate between the boy and the community. He recognized the profound isolation Thomas endured and sought to provide moments of normalcy and encouragement within the classroom. Yet even Hale was constrained by the limits of understanding imposed by his era's scientific and cultural framework. As the Merrick family navigated this fraught landscape, the boundaries between internal struggle and external judgment blurred. Thomas's drawings became silent witnesses to the family's trials, their faces etched with emotions that mirrored the turmoil engulfing his world. Each stroke of the pencil was an act of both creation and confession, revealing the depths of a boy caught between realms. The protective cocoon Margaret wove around Thomas was both a blessing and a challenge. While it shielded him from the harshest storms of suspicion, it also underscored his difference, marking him as separate from the village's collective life. The interplay of love and isolation defined the household's fragile equilibrium. Samuel's quiet fears echoed the broader societal tensions, a world grappling with the unknown, uncertain how to embrace or repel that which defied explanation. His internal conflict spoke to the heart of the Merrick family's predicament, the struggle to reconcile love and fear, acceptance and rejection, the ordinary and the extraordinary. In this crucible of suspicion, hope, and familial devotion, Thomas Merrick's journey unfolded, not only as a tale of a boy with a mysterious gift, but as a reflection of the human complexities that emerge when the unseen presses against the boundaries of the known. The Merrick family's story became a microcosm of a society wrestling with the unfamiliar and the enduring bonds that strive to withstand its tides. In the winter of 1810, a new figure entered the quiet village, bringing with him the promise of understanding and the weight of scientific inquiry. Dr. Alistair Crane, a traveling physician known for his interest in the peculiar and unexplained, arrived with a reputation for blending medical knowledge with an open-minded curiosity that few of his contemporaries possessed. His presence soon became a focal point in the unfolding story of Thomas Merrick and his extraordinary gift. Dr. Crane's arrival was met with a mixture of anticipation and skepticism. The villagers, wary of outsiders yet eager for answers, watched as he made his way to the Merrick household, where Thomas's talent had become both a source of fascination and fear. Margaret welcomed the doctor with cautious hope, sensing that his visit might offer clarity, or at least a measure of relief from the growing tensions surrounding her son. Upon meeting Thomas, Dr. Crane approached the boy not as a mere curiosity, but as a subject worthy of serious study. He observed the sketches with keen interest, noting the precision and emotional depth that Thomas captured. The doctor's examinations were conducted with sensitivity, aiming to understand the nature of Thomas's perceptions without causing distress. Dr. Crane began by engaging Thomas in conversation, gently probing the boy's experiences and impressions. He asked about the faces Thomas drew, their origins, their significance, and the sensations they evoked. Though Thomas struggled to articulate the visions that came unbidden to him, the doctor's patient demeanor encouraged moments of openness. The physician's notes, later compiled in a series of journals, reveal a mind grappling with phenomena that defied easy classification. Dr. Crane entertained the possibility that Thomas's ability might stem from a neurological or psychological anomaly rather than supernatural causes. He speculated that the boy's brain could be processing sensory information in an unusual way, perhaps heightened perception or an early form of synesthesia. Yet Dr. Crane did not dismiss the spiritual or metaphysical interpretations that permeated the village's understanding. He recognized the limits of contemporary science and remained open to multiple explanations, balancing skepticism with an empathetic consideration of the boy's experiences. This nuanced approach set him apart from many of his peers, who might have reacted with outright dismissal or fear. In his examinations, Dr. Crane conducted a series of informal tests, observing Thomas's responses to stimuli and his behavior during episodes of intense drawing. He noted that the boy's focus seemed altered, with moments of trance-like absorption as he rendered the faces on paper. The doctor hypothesized that Thomas's mind might be accessing subconscious memories or impressions imprinted from his environment. Dr. Crane also explored the possibility of hallucinations or visions resulting from psychological stress or trauma. He considered the social isolation Thomas endured and the emotional burden of his gift as factors that might influence his perceptions. Yet the clarity and consistency of the drawings suggested to the doctor that there was more at play than mere imagination. Throughout his inquiry, Dr. Crane maintained a respectful distance from the village's superstitions, seeking instead to ground his observations in empirical evidence. He engaged with other local figures, including the schoolmaster Edmund Hale, exchanging ideas and debating the nature of Thomas's talent within the frameworks of early 19th century medicine and philosophy. The doctor's presence brought a new dimension to the village's discourse on the boy's abilities. His investigations lent a measure of legitimacy to Thomas's experiences, encouraging some villagers to reconsider their fears and suspicions. Others remained unconvinced, clinging to traditional beliefs and wary of the unsettling implications of a child who saw beyond the ordinary. Within the Merrick household, Dr. Crane's involvement was both a source of hope and unease. Margaret welcomed the possibility of understanding, while Samuel viewed the physician's inquiries with cautious pragmatism. Thomas himself was sometimes overwhelmed by the attention, caught between the desire to share his visions and the fear of exposure. The doctor's journals also reveal moments of personal reflection, as he grappled with his own beliefs and the mysteries presented by Thomas's gift. He pondered the boundaries between science and the supernatural, noting that the boy's drawings challenged the prevailing notions of perception and reality. Dr. Crane's writings suggest an early awareness of concepts that would later emerge in psychology and neurology, though framed within the limited knowledge of his time. Despite his rigorous approach, Dr. Crane acknowledged the enduring enigma of Thomas's abilities. He concluded that while some explanations might be found in the workings of the human mind, the full nature of the boy's gift transcended current understanding. This humility in the face of mystery marked a departure from the dogmatic attitudes common in the era. Dr. Crane's visit catalyzed a subtle shift in the village's attitude toward Thomas. The physician's endorsement of inquiry over fear encouraged a few villagers to approach the boy with renewed respect. Yet the undercurrents of suspicion remained strong, revealing the challenges inherent in reconciling extraordinary phenomena with deeply ingrained cultural beliefs. In the broader context of early 1800s England, Dr. Crane's investigations exemplified the tension between burgeoning scientific rationalism and enduring superstition. His engagement with Thomas Merrick highlighted the complexities of understanding human perception at a time when the boundaries of knowledge were rapidly expanding but still limited. The doctor's departure left the Merrick family with a mixture of gratitude and uncertainty. His presence had illuminated aspects of Thomas's condition, yet many questions remained unanswered. The boy's journey into the realms of unseen faces and hidden truths continued, now accompanied by the faint light of scientific curiosity. Thus, Dr. Alistair Crane's involvement represented a crucial juncture in Thomas Merrick's story, a meeting point between faith and reason, mystery and method. It was a chapter that underscored the challenges of exploring the unknown and the enduring human desire to comprehend the unseen forces that shape our experience. In the early decades of the 19th century, the frontiers of scientific understanding were expanding, yet the mysteries of human perception remained elusive and contested. Against this backdrop, the case of Thomas Merrick and his uncanny drawings invited both intrigue and skepticism, prompting explorations into the nature of the mind and the limits of reality as known at the time. Dr. Alistair Crane's investigations into the boy's gift opened a window onto contemporary beliefs about perception, hallucination, and the nascent field of neuroscience, though the full implications of Thomas's abilities stretched beyond the confines of existing knowledge. At the heart of the scientific discourse of the era was a tension between rationalism and superstition. The Enlightenment had ushered in an age of reason, emphasizing empirical observation, measurement, and the search for natural laws governing the world. Yet lingering beliefs in the supernatural and the spiritual persisted, especially in rural communities where tradition held sway. Thomas Merrick's drawings, capturing faces invisible to others, challenged this duality, posing questions that neither science nor folklore could fully answer. Dr. Crane's notes reveal his attempts to situate Thomas's experiences within emerging medical theories. He considered the possibility that the boy's visions resulted from neurological phenomena, such as heightened sensory processing or early forms of hallucination. The concept of hallucination was itself evolving, understood as perceptions without external stimuli, often associated with illness or mental disturbance. Crane sought to discern whether Thomas's gift aligned with pathological hallucination or represented a unique mode of perception. The physician also drew upon early ideas about the brain's function. Though neuroscience was in its infancy, some scholars had begun to explore the relationship between brain anatomy and mental processes. The notion that certain areas of the brain could influence perception and cognition was gaining traction, though detailed understanding was limited. Crane speculated that Thomas might possess an unusual neurological wiring, granting him access to images beyond ordinary awareness. At the same time, psychological explanations were considered. The field of psychology had not yet emerged as a distinct discipline, but early thinkers explored notions of the subconscious and internal mental landscapes. Dr. Crane pondered whether Thomas's drawings reflected inner visions, manifestations of memory, imagination, or emotional experience, projected outward through art. This perspective suggested that the faces were symbolic rather than literal glimpses of unseen entities. The social context of Thomas's experiences also informed Crane's approach. The boy's isolation and the emotional weight of his gift could contribute to altered mental states, intensifying his visions. The physician noted that stress, trauma, and social alienation were recognized factors influencing perception, even if their mechanisms remained obscure. Thomas's drawings might therefore be understood as expressions of a troubled inner world, shaped by both physiological and psychological forces. Yet Dr. Crane remained cautious, aware that such explanations were provisional and incomplete. The clarity and consistency of Thomas's images set them apart from typical hallucinations or fantasies, suggesting an underlying reality that defied simple categorization. The doctor grappled with the possibility that human perception might extend beyond the material senses, touching on dimensions not yet recognized by science. This openness to the unknown was a hallmark of Crane's investigative style, distinguishing him from contemporaries who might dismiss such phenomena outright. His willingness to entertain multiple hypotheses, neurological, psychological, and even metaphysical, reflected a broader intellectual curiosity that characterized the period's gradual shift toward more nuanced understandings of the mind. The village itself was a microcosm of these tensions. Traditional beliefs about spirits, omens, and unseen forces coexisted uneasily with the growing influence of scientific rationalism. Thomas Merrick's gift became a focal point where these worldviews clashed and intertwined, illuminating the complexities of human attempts to interpret the extraordinary. Among the villagers, some embraced the idea that Thomas was a conduit for spiritual insight, a seer with access to hidden truths. Others regarded him as afflicted by mental disturbance, a child whose visions were symptoms of illness or madness. This divide mirrored broader societal debates about the nature of reality and the mind's capacity to perceive it. Dr. Crane's experiments, though limited by the era's technological constraints, incorporated careful observation and documentation. He noted Thomas's altered states during drawing sessions, his intense concentration, and the emotional resonance of the images produced. These observations contributed to early theories about altered consciousness and creativity, areas that would later become central to psychological and neuroscientific inquiry. The limitations of contemporary medical knowledge, however, imposed boundaries on the investigation. Without advanced tools or a comprehensive framework for understanding brain function and mental health, Crane's conclusions remained tentative. The boy's experiences hovered on the edge of comprehension, accessible only through indirect evidence and interpretive reasoning. Philosophically, Thomas's gift touched on enduring questions about perception and reality. Was what he saw a literal truth beyond ordinary senses, or a subjective projection shaped by the mind's inner workings? The distinction between objective and subjective experience was a matter of profound debate, one that Thomas's drawings brought into sharp relief. The notion of the subconscious, though not formally articulated until later in the century, found early echoes in discussions about dreams, memory, and imagination. Thomas's art could be seen as an expression of this hidden mental realm, revealing layers of consciousness inaccessible to others, but vivid to himself. Moreover, the drawings raised questions about the human desire to grasp the invisible, to see beyond surface appearances into deeper realities. Thomas Merrick's experiences embodied this quest, straddling the boundary between the known and the mysterious, the visible and the concealed. In sum, the scientific and philosophical explorations surrounding Thomas's gift reflected the era's complex engagement with the mind's mysteries. Dr. Crane's investigations, situated within early neurological and psychological thought, highlighted both the possibilities and limits of contemporary understanding. The boy's drawings challenged prevailing paradigms, inviting reconsideration of perception as a multifaceted phenomenon encompassing physiological, psychological, and perhaps metaphysical dimensions. As Thomas continued to create his haunting images, the village and the wider intellectual community stood at a crossroads, caught between entrenched beliefs and emerging knowledge, grappling with a boy whose art illuminated the shadowy frontiers of human perception. As the seasons shifted and the years unfolded, the village's perception of Thomas Merrick evolved from suspicion to a cautious reverence, marking a subtle but profound transformation in community attitudes. What had once been a source of fear and alienation gradually gave way to a recognition of Thomas as more than a curious child. He became a figure of mystery, a seer whose unique gift cast a shadow of both awe and respect over the village's daily life. This shift was not abrupt, but arose from a complex interplay of social, cultural, and psychological factors. The villagers, steeped in tradition and superstition, wrestled with their fears of the unknown, while simultaneously drawn to the possibility that Thomas's drawings revealed truths beyond their ordinary experience. His ability to capture faces invisible to others evoked ancient beliefs in prophecy and spiritual insight, resonating with a community still attuned to the language of omens and signs. Among the elders, stories circulated of seers and mystics who could glimpse beyond the veil of the material world. Thomas's gift, though unfamiliar in its form, echoed these ancestral narratives, providing a tangible connection to a past where the supernatural was woven into the fabric of everyday life. For some, he became a guardian figure, a child chosen to bridge the realms of the living and the unseen. This emerging role carried a weight of responsibility and expectation. Villagers began to approach Thomas with offerings, tokens, prayers, and whispered requests, hoping he might reveal knowledge of hidden dangers, lost souls, or future events. His drawings were treated not merely as art, but as messages encoded with meaning, a language of faces that spoke to the village's hopes and fears. The social dynamics of the village adapted accordingly. Thomas was invited to communal gatherings with a new deference, his presence acknowledged with a mixture of curiosity and solemnity. Parents cautioned their children to respect the boy, who saw what others could not, while neighbors sought his insight on matters both mundane and profound. Yet this acceptance was not without its tensions. Beneath the surface lay an undercurrent of anxiety about the implications of Thomas's gift. The boundary between admiration and fear remained fragile, shaped by the villagers' ambivalence toward the mysterious and the unfamiliar. Some harbored doubts, wary that such power might invite misfortune or disrupt the natural order. Within the community, the intersection of superstition and emerging religious thought further complicated perceptions. The village church, a pillar of traditional authority, grappled with how to interpret Thomas's abilities. Clergy and parishioners debated whether his gift was a divine blessing, a test of faith, or a manifestation of darker forces. These theological reflections mirrored broader societal struggles to reconcile faith with phenomena that challenged orthodox understanding. Thomas himself navigated this shifting landscape with a growing awareness of his place within the village's collective imagination. He sensed the weight of expectation and the gaze of the community, feelings that both bolstered and burdened him. The boy's drawings became not only windows into unseen realities, but also mirrors reflecting the hopes, fears, and beliefs of those around him. The cultural implications of Thomas's gift extended beyond the village's borders, touching on early 19th century England's fascination with the occult, spiritualism, and the boundaries of human knowledge. His story resonated with contemporary currents that sought to explore hidden dimensions of existence, blending art, mysticism, and emerging scientific inquiry. Socially, Thomas occupied a liminal space, neither fully integrated into the communal fabric, nor entirely isolated. His unique position as a bearer of visions placed him at the nexus of collective identity and otherness, a figure both embraced and marked as different. This duality shaped interactions and defined his role within the village's evolving narrative. The villagers' gradual acceptance of Thomas as a seer influenced local customs and practices. Rituals and ceremonies adapted to incorporate his presence, with some events held in quiet homage to the unseen forces his drawings suggested. The community's relationship with the mysterious deepened, reflecting a broader human inclination to find meaning in the intangible and the enigmatic. Psychologically, this shift provided a framework through which the villagers could process their anxieties and uncertainties. Thomas's gift became a vessel for communal expression, allowing fears and desires to be projected onto a tangible figure. In this way, the boy's drawings served as a collective dialogue with the unknown, a means of negotiating the boundaries between reality and imagination. Within the Merrick family, this evolving status brought both relief and complexity. Margaret found solace in the village's growing respect for her son, while Samuel remained cautious, mindful of the delicate balance between acceptance and alienation. Thomas himself grappled with the responsibilities his role entailed, learning to navigate the interplay of personal identity and communal expectation. The schoolmaster, Edmund Hale, observed these developments with interest, recognizing the social and cultural forces shaping Thomas's experience. He sought to support the boy's education and well-being, aware that his position within the village was both a source of strength and vulnerability. Hale's efforts reflected a desire to bridge the gap between tradition and emerging modernity. This period marked a significant chapter in Thomas Merrick's journey, a time when the village's fear transformed into fascination and suspicion gave way to a tentative embrace. His gift became a symbol of the unseen dimensions that permeate human experience, a reminder of the mysteries that lie beyond ordinary perception. In essence, Thomas's role as a local seer encapsulated the dynamic interplay between belief and skepticism, community and individuality, the visible and the hidden. His drawings, once sources of isolation, now served as bridges connecting the village to realms of possibility and wonder. Through this evolution, the village of Thomas Merrick stood as a microcosm of humanity's enduring quest to understand the unknown, to find meaning in the shadows, and to reconcile the mysteries of existence with the demands of everyday life. The boy's gift illuminated this timeless tension, casting a light that flickered between fear and hope, doubt and reverence. The tale of Thomas Merrick's extraordinary gift inevitably drew attention beyond the tangible sketches and village whispers, inviting reflection on deeper philosophical and psychological questions that stirred the minds of both laypeople and learned thinkers alike. His drawings, faces unseen by others yet vivid and haunting, challenged prevailing notions of reality, perception, and the very nature of consciousness, opening a window onto the mysteries of the human mind and its capacity to access hidden dimensions. At the heart of these reflections lay the perennial question, what is perception? The 18th and early 19th centuries had seen burgeoning interest in sensory experience and the reliability of the senses as pathways to knowledge. Philosophers debated whether the world as it is truly corresponds to the world as it is perceived, raising the possibility that human experience is but a filtered, subjective construction. Thomas's gift seemed to embody this tension, presenting images that existed within his perception, yet eluded others, blurring the line between objective reality and individual vision. Psychologically, Thomas's drawings suggested the workings of a mind capable of accessing realms beyond ordinary consciousness. Though formal psychology was yet to emerge as a discipline, early thinkers pondered the existence of subconscious processes, mental activities hidden from conscious awareness, but influencing thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Thomas's art could be viewed as an expression of such inner depths, a channel through which subconscious images manifested outwardly. This idea found resonance in the era's fascination with dreams, memory, and imagination as portals to unseen truths. Thomas's sketches might represent more than mere figments of fantasy. They could be echoes of forgotten experiences, ancestral memories, or symbolic representations encoded in the mind's recesses. Such interpretations aligned with early Romantic notions that the imagination was a powerful force, capable of revealing profound insights beyond rational comprehension. The philosophical implications extended further, touching on questions of consciousness and the nature of existence. If Thomas's drawings were glimpses into unseen dimensions, they suggested that reality encompassed layers inaccessible to ordinary perception. This notion challenged materialist views that confined reality to the physical and observable, opening space for metaphysical speculation about spiritual realms, alternate planes, or collective unconsciousness. Thomas's experiences also prompted inquiry into the boundaries between life and death, presence and absence. Many faces he rendered bore expressions laden with sorrow or longing, as if they belonged to souls caught between worlds. This evoked cultural and religious ideas about spirits, ghosts, and the afterlife, inviting contemplation of mortality and the persistence of identity beyond physical decay. The boy's gift thus became a focal point for exploring the human fascination with hidden truths, the desire to pierce the veil of the visible and encounter the mysteries that lie beneath. His drawings symbolized the quest for meaning in a world often perceived as opaque and enigmatic, reflecting a universal impulse to seek connection with the unseen forces shaping existence. At the same time, Thomas's art raised questions about the reliability and interpretation of such visions. Were the faces he saw objective realities, or subjective projections shaped by personal and cultural influences? This ambiguity underscored the complexity of perception, highlighting how the mind constructs meaning from sensory input, memory, and imagination. The psychological dimension of Thomas's gift also encompassed the experience of isolation and alienation. His ability to perceive what others could not set him apart, creating a gulf between his inner world and the shared reality of the village. This tension mirrored broader human struggles to communicate inner experiences that defy common understanding, embodying the loneliness of those who inhabit liminal spaces at the edge of perception. Philosophically, the case invited reflection on the nature of self and other, the relationship between the perceiver and the perceived. Thomas's drawings were acts of both seeing and creating, blurring the distinction between observer and subject. In rendering these faces, he engaged in a dialogue with the unknown, negotiating identity and existence through artistic expression. The broader human fascination with hidden dimensions found expression in cultural practices of the time: spiritualism, seances, and explorations of the occult that sought to bridge the gap between the material and the immaterial. Thomas Merrick's story resonated with these currents, embodying the intersection of art, spirituality, and the scientific curiosity that defined the era's intellectual landscape. Moreover, his gift posed ethical and existential questions. How should society respond to individuals whose perceptions challenge conventional reality? What responsibilities do such individuals bear in interpreting and communicating their visions. The Merrick family's struggles reflected these dilemmas as they navigated protection, exposure, and acceptance amid a community grappling with uncertainty. In sum, Thomas Merrick's drawings transcended their immediate context, inviting ongoing contemplation of perception's mysteries and the human mind's capacity to access realms beyond ordinary sight. His story illuminated the fragile boundary between reality and vision, the conscious and the subconscious, the known and the unknowable. Through his art, Thomas became a symbol of humanity's enduring quest to understand the invisible forces shaping existence, a quest marked by wonder, fear, and the relentless pursuit of meaning. His gift reminded those who encountered it that beneath the surface of the visible world lies a vast and intricate landscape of hidden truths, waiting to be discovered by those willing to look beyond appearances. In this light, the Merrick boys' life and work continue to inspire reflection on the profound interplay between perception, reality, and the mysteries that define the human condition. The faces he drew remain haunting echoes of the unseen, inviting us to question what lies beyond our gaze and to embrace the enigmatic depths of existence. The story of Thomas Merrick, the boy who drew faces invisible to all but himself, stands as a poignant chapter in the broader narrative of human exploration into perception, art, and the mysteries that lie beyond ordinary sight. His life, woven into the fabric of a small English village in the early 19th century, offers a unique lens through which to examine the complex interplay between creativity, consciousness, and the unseen dimensions of existence. Thomas's journey was not merely that of a gifted artist, but that of an individual who challenged the boundaries of human experience. His drawings served as more than mere portraits. They were windows into realms that defied conventional understanding, inviting those who beheld them to question the nature of reality itself. In capturing faces that eluded others, Thomas bridged the tangible and the intangible, the known and the mysterious. The legacy of his gift reverberates beyond his lifetime, contributing to early inquiries that would eventually shape the fields of psychology, neuroscience, and the philosophy of mind. His experiences anticipated questions about the subconscious, the nature of hallucinations, and the ways in which the mind constructs and perceives reality, topics that continue to captivate scholars and thinkers to this day. Moreover, Thomas Merrick's story illuminates the human dimension behind historical phenomena, often relegated to clinical or academic analysis. It reminds us that behind every extraordinary case lies a person navigating the challenges of identity, acceptance, and understanding within a community. The Merrick family's struggles and steadfast support exemplify the enduring bonds that sustain individuals confronting the unknown. His drawings, preserved as fragile testaments to a world unseen, invite ongoing reflection on the mysteries of human perception and creativity. They challenge us to consider the limitations of our senses and the possibility that reality encompasses layers accessible only through the depths of imagination, intuition, or other faculties yet to be fully comprehended. In embracing Thomas's story, we acknowledge the profound human desire to connect with realities beyond the immediately visible, a desire that fuels artistic expression, scientific inquiry, and spiritual contemplation alike. His gift embodies the eternal tension between fear and fascination that accompanies encounters with the extraordinary. Ultimately, the life of Thomas Merrick serves as a symbol of the enduring quest to understand the unseen forces shaping our existence. His art and experiences transcend their historical moment, resonating with universal themes of mystery, perception, and the search for meaning. As we continue to explore the frontiers of mind and matter, Thomas's legacy endures, an invitation to look beyond appearances, to embrace the unknown with curiosity and compassion, and to honor the profound complexities of human consciousness. His story remains a testament to the fragile yet resilient human spirit, forever reaching toward the light that flickers just beyond the edge of sight.